Okay, looks like everybody's here. Great. Hi, Eyal. Hi, Tom.
Hey, everyone.
Everybody, how you doing?
Great. Glad you make it. Okay, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Twitter Space. Today we're joined by some of the most incredible builders of the space, and particularly the DAO landscape right now. And before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Johnny Chak, the community lead for Solv Protocol. We provide a tool set for DAOs and users to build, use, and trade their own bespoke financial instruments on chain. And our products are powered by the ERC-3525 semi-fungible token standard, allowing for optimal qualitative expressivity for the financial instruments while maximizing its liquidity through fractionalization. I'm sure Ryan will get into it in just a little bit. But this is the second community call event that DeepDAO and Solv Protocol have both been in. Last time, Eyal was invited to our weekly community call, and we spent quite a bit of time talking about the DAO tooling landscape and the visions of the DeepDAO. The conversation I was deeply inspired by. So we decided to keep it going for a bit, and this time we're co-hosting the space, and hopefully we and those from our communities that are listening in can take home something interesting and educational about the DAO landscape. I know that the DeepDAO team was kind enough to let me kick this off, but please feel free, Eyal, to jump in at any point and take the lead. So just to go over the group, starting with our co-host, Eyal. He's the co-founder of DeepDAO, a platform that provides DAOs and governance token holders a detailed, dynamic dashboard for a list of select DAOs assets, membership, and participation. Ryan Chow is the co-founder and the CMO of Solv Protocol, a decentralized platform for creating, managing, and trading financial NFTs called Vouchers. Will Papper is the co-founder of Syndicate DAO, a social financial platform, a protocol that allows people to create and govern multi-purpose DAOs with a focus on the investment DAOs. He's a former contributor of the Constitution DAO and the creator of the Adventure Gold, or AGLD token, which can be used to buy voting power and governance for the Loot NFT project. We are also joined by Tom, the founder of SupeRare, a marketplace often cleverly dubbed Instagram meeting Christie's for collecting and trading unique single edition digital artworks. And last but certainly not the least, Emon. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Emon?
Yeah, it's Emon. Perfect.
Great. Emon from product at Solana Labs. Emon formerly helped develop digital economy and video for Reddit, one of the most popular social platforms in the world, and also developed products for Olympus DAO. What a fascinating group. Welcome you all.
Thanks, Johnny.
Yeah. Thanks, Johnny. Just to clarify, I'm not the founder of SupeRare. I'm the head of finance at SupeRare. Just want to make that clear, just in case my boss doesn't like being said around.
I apologize. Yes. Right. Thank you for correcting me, Tom. So just a heads up, Emon and Will are just going to be with us for about 30 minutes today. So our plan is to spend the first half of the call talking about DAO creation and the governance, where we'll focus on Solana and Syndicate and SupeRare, and the second part on the non-infrastructural DAO tooling with a focus on DeepDAO and Solv Protocol. So the premise of today's discussion is the empowerment of DAOs in both bear and bull market. This would have been a nice and general discussion on the DAO tooling, a single topic that could last a group like us days to talk about. But what makes the DAO landscape so interesting has, in my opinion, to do with whether it has the ability to adapt to the market volatility. And speaking of which, the timing of this event could not have been more convenient. And personally, I think this aspect of DAO landscape goes both ways. On one hand, we have seen a significant impact on a lot of DAO treasuries since the market crash that happened earlier this month. Obviously, this has hurt a lot of people, including institutional and retail investors, besides the DAO treasuries. But on the other hand, the current market condition is offering DAO builders like Solana and Syndicate, a valuable time to think hard about ways that early DAOs like SupeRare can be more efficiently and smartly created and governed. Also, DAO tooling platforms such as Solv Protocol and DeepDAO, which we'll cover in the later part of the call, can take this time to try to design the next level products to service the existing DAO landscape even better. So let's start with Emon. Emon, talk to us about the products you're building at Solana, and maybe with a focus on Realms and the Solana program library, or SPL governance. And feel free to introduce yourself to the group. I know I kind of did a moment ago, but I'm sure I just scratched the surface. So take it away.
Yeah, no, of course. Appreciate you having me. Nice to see you again, Will and Eyal. I know we've worked together in the past. So in terms of my role, I help lead DAOs from a product perspective at Solana. Obviously, part of that is helping support the ecosystem through partnerships, integrations, helping point folks to the right grants programs, RFPs, what have you. But another part of that is through actual products. And there's two main products. One is SPL governance, and one is Realms that we've sort of co-developed with the community of DAO builders on Solana. SPL governance is effectively the framework, the standard for almost all of the DAOs built on Solana today. It's completely on chain. It allows for DAO creation, DAO management, proposal creation, treasury management, all in one box. And then Realms is the front end that sits on top of SPL governance, and just makes it very easy for anyone to do any of these pieces. So anyone can come in, they can create a DAO or a multi-sig. They can create even an NFT community DAO that uses NFTs for voting and for membership. They can add their members from the platform. They can do take treasury management actions. We have 10 plus different sort of infrastructural or other DAO tooling providers who've integrated within Realms to allow people to stake their treasury, take part in DeFi integrations, do notifications. And so it's kind of the hub of DAO activity on Solana. And we basically work with the ecosystem and the community to make sure that those two products are built out to fit the needs of DAOs building in the Solana ecosystem.
That's excellent, Emon. Thank you for your answer. I actually checked out the Realms today earlier, and it was like I really love the UI. How it's designed. You just connect the wallet and then put in some addresses, and then just put in some numbers and just punch in some numbers and click some buttons, and it really feels like streamlining the creation of DAO. I'm really glad to see like the products being created today that help people create DAOs so efficiently and so easily. But I was just curious, like, for those who don't who are not very familiar with the history of Solana, what was building and running a DAO on Solana chain like before SPL governance or Realms?
Yeah. So what we saw is that without having those standard frameworks in place, you really have to build all of them from scratch, right? You have to figure out what is the right way to sort of generate a token for your DAO. How do you navigate having proposals on chain? How do you sort of enable a treasury in a secure fashion? And with most things, I think in tech in general, this wasn't us kind of saying, hey, it would really, make sense for us to build this out for folks building in Solana. This was kind of, we had several large DAOs, the biggest of which was Mango Markets, who had kind of decided, hey, we want to run our community in a DAO fashion. We need to build something ourselves to enable that DAO. And in parallel, we had a very small team within Solana who was kind of thinking about, hey, is there something we could do around DAO standard formation? And those two conversations coalesced, and sort of alongside Mango, we were able to build out the initial versions of SPL governance and Realms. And from there, the community has grown from, the one DAO that was Mango DAO to now, I think, over 600 DAOs that are really flourishing in the ecosystem.
Wow, 600 DAOs. I was actually looking at the just scrolling down the web page today, and then all the DAOs actually placed in the alphabetical order, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of DAOs in that were created on Solana. So I was really impressed. Yeah, I definitely see like this trend of really like making the experience, like the creation experience more efficient and more user friendly. This is definitely a lot better than just having developer. You have to hire a bunch of developers and know how to build a DAO, and this is like a whole new, I guess, level of user experience. So that's really great. I actually came upon the the three type of DAOs that someone can create on Realms. There was like this multi-sig DAO and bespoke DAO and NFT community DAO. Could you maybe talk a little bit about those DAOs? Like how they're different?
Yeah, of course. And one thing I'll mention for folks navigating to Realms.today, as much as I appreciate the compliments on the UI, we still have a long way to go. I think originally this was built out for the core sort of DAO builders, the DAO admins. But as we see sort of more and more quote unquote normies coming to the product, I think we do need a UI refresh to make it more user friendly. And that's one of the things we're working on today. But to answer your question around DAO types, so for folks who are unfamiliar, multi-sig, it's really meant for small teams who kind of come together. Maybe it's 5 or 10 folks and decide on what transactions they want their treasury to take. They have a shared wallet there. The next step up, and I think with all things, decentralization is really a spectrum. And so as you start to get more and more decentralized, maybe you think about actually introducing a token for your community and having a tokenized community or a protocol DAO. Where you have governance in the hands of your community of users. They make some of the core decisions for your protocol through proposals that they then vote on with their token. So that's kind of what we think about as like a protocol or a tokenized community. And then an NFT community is something we've added on recently. It's basically your tokenized community, but run by NFTs. So, what this allows for is for any NFT holder to come in and be a member of a DAO without needing the underlying token of the DAO. It allows for NFT holders to actually vote using their NFTs, so that the NFT is the thing that allows them to vote on proposals, and you can give different weights to different NFT collections. So if an NFT collection has multiple types of NFTs in it, certain more rare ones can carry more voting weight than others. But the reason this is so important, you see a lot of rug pulls within the NFT space. One of our core beliefs is that really any NFT collection should start as a DAO, even before they sell their initial mint. And what I mean by this is, they can create a DAO and state that, hey, the proceeds from the NFT sales are going to go into the treasury of the DAO. Any royalties are going to come into the treasury of the DAO, and the NFT holders will actually be members of the DAO. And what this creates is an atmosphere where, as a buyer of an NFT, I know, hey, the money is flowing into this treasury. I know I'm going to be a member of this treasury. And so it really diminishes the potential rug pulls that you can see in this space. And so we're working with some of the core NFT marketplaces and the core NFT minters within Solana to sort of enable this more ubiquitously, because we really see it helping with a lot of the spam and fraud you see within NFTs today.
Got you. Yeah, I really like how how this platform breaks down like different type of DAOs to suit different, I guess, target audience or target groups of people who holds different kind of tokens and want to create different DAOs. So I think that's really neat. Yeah. So
maybe I can have a quick comment here. That I think
sure.
one of the topics here of this this event is how do you deal with bear market? And I was thinking when I was thinking about this question, I was one thing that came to mind immediately was that one thing you want to do is strengthen your governance, because the people who are in your DAO and are involved in governance are the core people. Someone was telling me today that there is a protocol that allows staking of your tokens only to people who are involved in governance. And I completely agree that with the SPL governance move, to think that any NFT project should start as a DAO, because then the community is involved. And I think it goes from the basic idea that, the money goes to the DAO. And then you dive very much deeper into the governance and to the nuances of governance and who is more involved and who is less involved, and understanding the power dynamics of a DAO, which is really one of the most exciting things for me in the entire DAO movement and in the entire crypto movement right now. The ability of a large community to own parts of the project and be involved in governing it in a transparent and meaningful way. So good for you guys.
100%. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And that's the thing we tell all DAO builders is, decentralization, it really is a process. And you have to decide for yourself, what are the right points in your DAO's history to sort of take the next steps toward decentralization. This is probably getting too nitty gritty, but one of the things we enable within Realms and SPL governance is the notion of a council. And what that means is, when you're first starting a DAO, it can be really scary to turn over, the full control to your community. There are tons of different types of attack vectors of, people buying up over 50% of your tokens, being able to steal the treasury. And so what we have is this notion of a separate council, which kind of can oversee the DAO, can, veto certain decisions, has certain rights over the broader community. But then over time, as you get more comfortable running your community in a decentralized fashion, you can choose to disband the council, vote to disband the council, and have the community be fully decentralized. And so it really is a journey for all of the builders in this space. And I like your point, Eyal, of, having the core people in the community who are taking participating, coming together and helping make a lot of these core decisions.
Yeah, the council idea is great. Actually, I wouldn't even move to disband it. It's part of governance. It's an inherent part of governance to have people who are more involved for a certain period of time. You don't want these people to become entrenched in your DAO and dominate it forever. But you do want to give some decisions to some of the people. So it's one way in which governance can become more granular and more effective.
Right. And this is also where this is also where sub-DAOs come in as well, to your point. We're in the process of enabling sub-DAOs. So you can have these smaller groups of empowered individuals working on a specific unit of work or a specific mandate or a specific project for the DAO. They don't have to deal with, voting across the whole DAO to sort of expense, a subscription to a SaaS product. And rather, they're kind of empowered to take charge there.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Distribute power, it really reminds me of, I think this borders on on a political philosophy, a university course, like you talk about like you talk about perfect democracy and flawed democracy, where you have this group of representatives who are more knowledgeable or I guess more elite than the commoners, and then you have this ethical debate on how to most effectively or most justly run a DAO. So I think it's like this, like DAOs on blockchains are really like miniature of this real world governments, in a way that people are always figuring out how to distribute power in a most just way, I guess.
Yeah, we had what we called Athens DAO last week, where we brought together the majority of the Solana DAO community and tooling providers to Athens. We had brought 100 folks in person, kind of debating a lot of these core questions with the backdrop of the birth of democracy that is Athens, and a lot of this is unsolved, and that's what makes it so interesting, right? Is discussing these theoretical elements of what's the right way of doing governance in a decentralized fashion. And I think that's where, you look to the community of people who are deep in this space, who are doing it every day to kind of find the best practices.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know we're kind of running out of time. I know Emon and Will have to leave in about 10 minutes. So I want to touch upon Syndicate. So I definitely see some interesting similarities between Realms and Syndicate. One being their, I guess, shared functionality for allowing anyone to create and govern a DAO. So this question's for Will. Do you want to give an introduction to of yourself and your project, and tell us what got you into this rabbit hole of DAO governance?
Absolutely, very happy to. I am a co-founder of Syndicate. Syndicate allows anyone to set up investment DAOs. We're hyper-focused on investment DAOs, not as focused on community DAOs, which are a very interesting adjacent space. We've set up over 3,000 investment DAOs to date on our platform, which is something incredible and something we're super, super happy about. I personally got into the decentralization space in 2013, and invested in the DAO in 2016. And for DAO governance in particular, I actually studied philosophy in college and did a lot of deep dives into political philosophy and how we can structure societies and different means of political participation. And DAO governance is fascinating because it's basically an incredible laboratory we have available to test out new ideas to improve human coordination. So I see DAO tools as kind of the software layer for that coordination, and then communities themselves can see how they want to organize themselves, and those improvements that they discover will help influence not just the DAO space, not just the crypto space, but entire ways it can architect society down the road. So to be on the ground floor of something where the very first DAO was barely half a decade ago, that's something that's truly incredible.
Amazing. Could you explain to us like what one would mean by social financial protocol, which I believe is how you would how you would categorize Syndicate DAO, right?
Absolutely, happy to. So DAOs, in my mind, consist of two things. They consist of assets, and then they consist of a community that is oftentimes managing those assets and working towards a shared goal. You really can't have one without the other. That's why when we describe DAOs as a social financial technology, it acknowledges that DAOs need communities. Those are the foundation of them. And then in many cases, they need assets to manage. They don't inherently need assets to manage. They could, for example, be managing protocol parameters, let's say, things along those lines. But definitely, DAOs are, at the end of the day, a community primitive, and that's something that we always want to bring to the forefront.
That was excellent. I just have a really, I was just curious because listening to you talking about like social financial protocol, and then with Syndicate DAO being this huge investment DAO, is part of your motivation to creating creating Syndicate DAO that the token being like this. The token is such a unique entity, right, in blockchain, because it never. Well, the closest thing we have in the real world is a stock, right? But the stock has this financial value that's most of the time has nothing to do with the business, how the business of a company is run, right? You buy a stock of Amazon and the stock price will goes up and down, but that hardly have any impact on, say, like how the real business model of Amazon. But like the on blockchain, like tokens have this really powerful, I guess, roles in both worlds, right? You have the tokenomics, and it has the speculative value, and also it can be used, for staking in a blockchain, and it has all those utility values, and you can use it to build products, right? And it's actually inherent part of the products that people can actually use every day. So is that what part of what motivates you to create this investment DAO? Is that people can leverage tokens for I guess for the greatest financial well-being?
Yeah, I think that DAOs are really interesting because voice itself has value, and direct voice and how funds are spent is actually something that's very rare and very hard to find. So, for example, there's a bunch of research DAOs spinning up that are focused on, say, longevity research, aging research, cancer research, and that voice itself does have utility. And that utility is to be able to express a point of view, let's say, on which, say, cancer treatments are funded. And that's where I think that's really interesting about DAOs as a mindset shift, is that there can be voice without an expectation of profit, and that voice can still provide utility to the world. So having a say in which cancer treatments are funded is inherently useful, even if you aren't making profits from those treatments. So I think in the investment DAO category, the way this ties back is it's actually a lot broader than people think. I mean, of course, one category of investment DAOs is groups investing money, trying to make a profit and trying to make returns to those investors. And certainly of the 3,000 plus DAOs in Syndicate, there's a lot with that focus. But then there's also DAOs that are focused on community initiatives, that are focused on charity initiatives, where the emphasis is on voice, and you're investing in things that you think will further the goal that you have. But that investment is not necessarily profit oriented. In some ways, for example, grants are investments in an ecosystem. Those grants don't return any money, but the grants help build the ecosystem up as a whole. And I think that there's lots of use cases like that we'll continue to see emerge that are still very early right now.
I love that that you brought in voice, Will. I guess it's not a coincidence that you come from political science background, and you talk about voice in the context of DAOs. And I think that what we've seen over the past centuries really is ways for people to coordinate and to do things together. You can even look at early newspapers as a way for people to coordinate and to develop a voice, to develop a shared goal of sorts. And then that evolution continued into mass media, radio, and television, which are also voices of groups, maybe large groups, maybe small groups. And what we're seeing over the past couple of decades with social networks and influentials and now blockchain DAOs is a direct continuation of that line, with the ability of people to coordinate becoming more and more granular and more effective, and for these voices to start becoming more structured and more transparent. So in that regard, tokens is really, as a facilitator of voice, is really a powerful statement. I think it's really interesting point.
I agree. I think that's probably where a lot of governance experiments will end up going, is at the end of the day, holding a token as a way to express a point of view. And currently it's pure direct democracy, majority vote is the way to express the point of view. I think as we start to see sub-DAOs having their own tokens, and spin-off DAOs and cross DAO governance token voting, like Zorbs being able to be used to vote on nouns is a recent announcement that is just absolutely fascinating to me. How we play with that voice is just as important as how we think about the assets that that voice manages. So absolutely, something super, super interesting.
Yep. Totally agree. And it is interesting that now you can vote on nouns with Zorbs. I didn't know that. Very interesting.
Yeah, I don't mean to be a bus killer, but I know Emon and Will have to go. I just want to say thank you guys for joining in and for this informative, albeit short discussion. I'm sure DAO developers and our listeners have and will benefit a great deal from the cool things that you're building. And best of luck to you and your team. And we hope to reconvene with you someday in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks so much. Absolutely fantastic chat. Super excited to dive in more.
Awesome. All right, so let's move on to SupeRare. This is actually the project that I came upon of late, and when I saw the DeepDAO team informed me that Tommy's coming, I was really excited. So we definitely want to get into to your project, and hopefully I'm sure a lot of people in the community are very, very interested to hear about it. So Tom, maybe could you introduce to our listeners what is SupeRare and what makes it so different from other art and NFT trading platforms such as OpenSea and Rarible.
Hi, thanks, Johnny. I'm glad to be here. I guess just from a high level perspective, SupeRare, we are essentially a curated NFT marketplace specifically for crypto art, right? So if you think about it, our platform only has one-of-one digital art that is unique and is something that you will want to see in a gallery or a museum. And it features artists that spends a lot of time, that put a lot of effort into their artwork. And that's what we want to showcase, right? And we became a DAO last year. So essentially, like what Eyal was saying, what Will was saying, what Emon was saying, is we're giving the power of curation to the community, right? So when we first started, it was a team that essentially the SupeRare team was deciding who gets to be onboarded onto our platform to be an artist, to be able to mint their work and sell the work. Eventually, it's not scalable, right? If you think about it, right now we're a 60-person team. It's not scalable having the entire team decide who gets to be onboarded. By becoming a DAO, we're giving token holders the ability to vote on who they want to be on SupeRare, right? If you know artists that have done really good work somewhere else and they think they can benefit from being on SupeRare, that's essentially what, you're giving the community a vote of power, of voice, basically saying, hey, I want this artist on SupeRare so that I can see their work, buy their work, and then have it on my frame to appreciate the artwork.
Awesome. So I definitely I have checked out your SupeRare DAO like many times. I really love your interface. It's really neat. Consistent with the the theme of your project. It's really cool. So tell me, what is you did mention people participating in SupeRare DAO are for majority of time they are trying to decide what artists should be curated, right? What other decisions would the community, would the DAO members make through the SupeRare DAO? Is what you mentioned is that the only reason, the only thing they can decide in a DAO?
No, so that's the first step, right? So what we came up with is curation was, at the center of our platform, right? We are an art marketplace, so curation obviously comes top of mind. So that was the first thing that we decided, is that, hey, we know people are interested in our platform. How do they get to be on it? So we created what you call a space race, right? So we give people the power to become a gallery operator on our platform so that they can onboard as many artists as they want if they have a certain theme, a certain way of looking at things, different types of art mediums, right? That was the first step, right? Obviously, like what we were talking about for DAOs, anything is possible, right? You basically, it's up to the community. If they have an idea, they have a proposal in mind, all they have to do is submit a SIP, right? It's basically a super rare improvement proposal, and suggest to the DAO what it should do with one, its funds, right? Because at the end of the day, everything requires capital to do what we should do with the ETH and the rare tokens that we currently hold. How should we use it, and to basically grow the community, right? One of the things that is currently being discussed right now on our platform is, I don't know if anybody saw, we did a drop with Madonna and Beeple, right? And part of the thing is, we, as a marketplace, we take commission. And now people are saying, hey, because this was all going to charity from Madonna's side, SupeRare should donate all its commissions as well that it received from this sale to the same charity that Madonna is donating, right? So that's essentially like the power, right? People can put up that proposal, and the proposal came from an outsider. It's not somebody internal. They put up a proposal. It's being discussed. It's being sort of written down, explained how it should work and which charity is going. And now we're gonna, I think within the next week, we're gonna put it up in our snapshot for people to vote. So there are many possibilities, and I don't want to say that it's limitless, but if you can think it and people agree with you, it can probably happen.
That's awesome, Tom. You did mention like an outsider. Any outsider can create like a proposal, and to participate the DAO governance. Is that real? I mean, for example, if I don't hold the token of SupeRare, does that give me the right to write a proposal and see what people think about that?
Sorry, to clarify, when I say outsider, it's somebody outside of SupeRare, but they are a SupeRare token holder, right?
Gotcha,
so you still
gotcha.
have to have some vested interest. Otherwise, people can just go out to random different DAOs and just start proposing random questions, right?
Exactly, that'll be chaotic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how long has the SupeRare DAO been been how long since it was created, and then what was the experience like from running, introducing to the community and get the community member get comfortable with participating and participating and governing the SupeRare DAO? Was it like a smooth experience?
It had its ups and downs, right? I would say just because one, DAOs are very new, right? Our DAO was created in August of 2021, so it's only been around 9 months so far, right? And I would say we're still in the infant stages, just like all the other DAOs out there. We're learning. We're still learning, right? Like obviously, the main thing that we always look at is that how do we educate people? Because the word DAO is being thrown around like in the media, just on Twitter and everywhere else. But do people really understand what it does and what the power it holds? Like if you're a token holder, a lot of people don't understand that they have so much power, right? I think somebody mentioned, either you, Johnny, or Eyal mentioned, like, it's essentially like a stock, right? But the biggest difference between a token holder and a stockholder is that token holder is you get one token, you get one vote. Whereas, in the stock market, usually the founders, their one stock has like 10 times or 100 times supermajority voting. That's completely different because they dictate how it works. But within a DAO, within the crypto community, is one token literally means one vote, and you're the person that decides on how it can change the direction where this DAO is moving towards. And I just want to say probably, sorry, go ahead.
I'm really curious about something. So how does it specifically for a DAO to manage art? And I'm really interested in this connection. Like, for example, whether you get art purists saying, no, there's no way we can let the community decide what's good art and bad art. And we need to have the experts decide on something like that. And then I'm sure some people would say, oh, now the art world is completely dominated by the financial people, because it's how many tokens do you have will allow you to decide on art and all that. And of course, this debate exists in the art world for again centuries. So I'm curious if it has a specific bent to it in the DAO ecosystem.
Yeah, it just gives more people access to it, right? That's the first step. Because right now in the traditional world, a lot of people, they see a gallery, they walk by, they're afraid to go in, just because one, they might just judge you based on how you look, whether they want to approach you, and then there's kind of like snobby looking, right? But in the digital world, you're online, and the difference is you still need curators, right? But the curator is not a specific person or a group of body, is now the entire community. You still have somebody that's proposing an idea, which they can say they're an expert in specific, like photography or like contemporary art, and then they're like, hey, this is what I think is good. What does the community think? And if the community decides like, hey, it's at the end of the day, art is the eye of the beholder, right? So like, if you like that piece of art and you agree with it, you will vote yes for their proposal because they want to bring this certain artwork or this artist to the platform. And if you don't, you can simply vote no or just abstain or not even participate, right? So that essentially you're giving all these power to the people and having the people decide, as opposed to saying just the art dealer that's making the decision and making the deals, or the art gallery that's making all these decisions.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's again, it sounds like a continuation of an existing field into our ecosystem, and it becomes more granular and has it allows more people to become involved and to become really knowledgeable about the domain like art. Really interesting. I'm a fan of DAOs in general, so I'll find everything interesting, but I think specifically this is definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's like, Tom, it's really interesting because I hear like how this, because I think my understanding is like, what if DAO governance, right, is consists, like the core process of DAO governance is voting, and voting is the inherent part of democracy. Then I guess like a DAO, a super rare DAO, would be like democratizing how people can change the direction in which art progresses, right? So in like in early 20th century, in Europe, in Paris, there's it's like art critics basically rule the entire art world, and then their voice can significantly change how the next Mona Lisa can be priced, right? So I guess I think what's really fascinating about super rare DAO is that everyone can try to be an art critic and through language and persuasion, and then they're explain their own way of explaining the artwork that they find valuable to the community, and then let the community decide, whether the art is good. I think this is really a really cool way of democratizing the art world. Really give the art back to the people and let people decide whether the art is good or not.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. That's exactly what we're trying to do, right? It's giving people that say, right? To your point, art critics used to dominate the art world, but now it's the community can dominate the art world, right? They basically can take that ability to comment on different artwork, critique different artworks, and share it with people that have similar mindset that agree with them. So you don't have to worry about, oh, you're only reading 10 different art critics explanation and reviews. Now you have thousands, if not millions, of people who can chime in at any given time.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And right, so in this bear market, a lot of crypto prices have dropped. Like, how's your treasury doing? Because I figure you'll be the perfect person to ask. How's your DAO treasury doing? And then because we're going to cover a bit of Solv Protocol. Solv Protocol basically, like, it provides a host of financial instruments, very flexible to use, very easy to use, to give DAO treasuries consistent incremental funding in like tough times like this. So I was just curious, like, how is Super Rare DAO doing in terms of its treasury?
Well, like every crypto market or cryptocurrency, everything is down, right? So there is no escaping that. But the way we look at it is you need to diversify, just like how you manage a portfolio. Like coming from a finance background, banking background, you still need that ability to make sure that you don't put everything in all your eggs in one basket, right? So our transactions are done in ETH. So we have ETH on our treasury, and we also have our native token, which is a rare token. For us, I know it's been 9 months. We only have those two currencies, but the plan going forward is to diversify a little bit. So having token swaps of different DAOs out there that have shared similar values is something that we're exploring. And also having that ability to just let the community decide. It's putting up a proposal, asking the community what they think is the best way to diversify the portfolio, and essentially crowdsourcing, whether it's like taking 5% and put it in Bitcoin, or 10% and put it in Solana. It's having that community mindset and ability to work together to make sure that, one, the DAO remains solvable, and two is that we never run out of funds. That's how we look at it from our treasury perspective, even though everybody's down like 30-40% since earlier this month or earlier in April.
Nice. We have a listener just a request to speak. I think he has a speaker role now. Do you have a question for Tom?
Hey, it was good. I was listening to you guys talk about SupeRare, I think it's called, and like how
SupeRare,
the community can become an art critic themselves. I got a question regarding that, because I feel there's also a lot of risk with letting the community make those moves. Is there any sort of risk management against rugs, or like, let's say if I make a stickman image, throw it in there, and get my entire community to rate it and say this is dope art, which it actually isn't. Is there any type of risk management against stuff like that to ensure that people are really only getting quality though?
Yeah, yes, that's the way we look at it, right? So we're not onboarding individual artists, right? We're onboarding sort of a gallery operator, right? So in the early stages, we were onboarding artists one at a time, right? We look at their past artworks, we look at their collector base, we look at essentially what, whether it's a stickman or an actual painting. So that's initially like the first phase. And then we became a DAO, we created a space race, right? So essentially it's a space operator. It's either a group of individuals or a couple of people that they essentially are now the curator. They have that power to bring on different artists. Whether they think they're really good or they're really bad, they ignore them. So now that curation power we give that curation power to them. So if you think about it, like each space race, we have 10 different space operators that win. You multiply that by 10, and then each person if they decide to onboard 5 different artists, that's, it just exponentially grows. So essentially we're taking that power that we were doing individually to the community, and it's up to that community. They can bring on shitty artists, like you said, right? They can bring on artists that suck, but then people will see the image and then they will say, hey, this is not art. Well, you don't trust this operator anymore. Nobody's going to buy from them. And if nobody's buying from you, you can still remain on the marketplace, but you won't be getting any revenue. So essentially you're sort of like in a void by yourself. And then the community can also come in and say, hey, this person is creating really bad art. We should remove them from the platform. And that's a possibility as well.
Hey, Wicked, thank you for the answer. That actually made me laugh a little bit. But that was very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for answering that listener's question. We have another speaker request to speak.
Hey, Jim, everyone. I'm not sure if you're rugging right now, but I can't hear anything else.
Okay, let's move on. So, Ryan, regarding the DAO Treasury management? So, like Tom mentioned, they're making real efforts to, in diversifying their treasury. They do with the token swap and everything. Do you want to talk about Solv Protocol and how this protocol is helping like DAO landscape? Is offering tools to DAO landscape to diversify their treasury.
Yes, sure. So let me introduce Solv Protocol a little bit, and because for us, we position Solv Protocol as a kind of a financial one-stop platform, for like trading, creating financial NFTs. Just like it's a bit similar with SupeRare, but it's for financial NFTs instead of some arts or digital arts kind of assets. So yeah, it's very interesting that we are focused on different kind of a sector, but we are all focused on like marketplace, and we just want to create just add liquidity on those of the assets. And we really believe that financial NFTs would be the future, because NFT is a really kind of powerful carrier for most of the financial instruments. So you could take NFT. NFT is not just about like arts, collectibles, or like domain names kind of things. It could be also used to represent financial assets like bonds, like certificates of deposit, like derivatives, kind of a financial instruments. So eventually we want to build a kind of financial NFTs marketplace. But before that, we have to build some killer app, a killer kind of a financial NFTs to make people aware of the power of financial NFTs. So two kind of a financial instruments that we have we have pushed out are, one is a vesting voucher, the second one is bond voucher. So these two a kind of financial NFTs are a very powerful kind of tool sets for DAOs to diversify or kind of a fundraising. So like vesting voucher is very simple. It's an NFT which lock up any ERC20 tokens. So you could take it to lock up your tokens and distribute the NFTs before the token being released from the NFTs. So vesting voucher would be a very interesting or very kind of a helpful or kind of useful kind of tool for all the DAOs when they would like to distribute lockup tokens to community members, or like when they conduct some token swap, they need to lock up some tokens to distribute the lockup tokens to each other, right? So they could take this solution to distribute to lock up their tokens and then distribute those of the tokens very easily. So that's the first product line. It's about our vesting voucher, and second one is the bond voucher. It's it's a bond, so we could empower all the DAOs to kind of take on debts by issuing bond. So they can collateralize some assets like their native tokens or some other assets as collateral, and then they could sign a on-chain IOU to guarantee the repayment, and also they could kind of invite some third party to co-manage the proceeds they raise from the bonds to add kind of add credits on the bonds. So with doing that, they could issue a bond and then say for for raising capital. So now is the only or is the first kind of bond products in the space which can really help the DAOs to diversify their treasury, to raise some debt capital without selling their tokens. Because now most of the DAOs, they are kind of facing a very a plummeting on their token price. And now how about to take on that and without selling their tokens, and they could, once they got some capital, they can just focus on development, and maybe in the from a long-term perspective they repay the loan, and then they could get kind of better traction during the bear market. So that I think it could really bring benefits to all the DAOs in terms of our kind of vouchers assets and vouchers product lines. Yeah.
Nice. So like it's essentially this tool that gives DAOs liquid assets like stable coins, stable coins. Really, like investors can pay in any in any token when they purchase the token issued by a DAO. So I think this is, and also DAOs can flexibly collateralize their this debt. So and then they don't have to worry about liquidation. So I think that's what's neat about this project, about this product. So Ryan, do you want to also talk about like what's being developed right now, like what products are being developed, especially maybe with a focus on like how the infrastructure for bond voucher can be used for streaming payments?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of like streaming payments, a kind of function is always being used for kind of employment, or employees a salary distribution kind of things, and yeah, it's all about DAO toolings. Because when we when in terms of the governance of a DAOs, we really need some kind of very powerful tools, especially some tools that without any coding work and kind of tools. So in terms of our vesting vouchers or bond vouchers, they could be also used for for DAO governance as well. Like when a DAOs, they want to kind of distribute some pay the salary to their kind of DAO members, and if they want to pay the kind of salary streamingly, so they could take the vesting voucher and they could just lock up the tokens or lock up the USDC kind of stable coins into the NFTs and distribute the NFTs to the DAO members, and then the DAO members could claim the kind of stable coins from the NFTs linearly or streamingly. So that's also a one kind of use case based on the vesting vouchers. And in terms of the bond voucher, it could also be a kind of very similar with a option, a kind of things, because like they could distribute the bond a kind of bond voucher, and when because our bond voucher could be executed as a pure bond or also could be executed as a convertible bond. So when you take kind of convertible bond model and then you distribute the convertible bonds to the DAO members, so all the DAO members could enjoy a potential upside because there is a call option being embedded with the bond because it's a convertible bond, and then it would be a very good incentive for all the DAO members to to hold the bond voucher and just contribute to the DAOs. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's talk about the DeepDAO. I feel like I feel like we're like DeepDAO is being left out for so long. I feel bad for covering the DeepDAO. At the end of the call. Actually, in our last community call, Eyal talked a great deal about DeepDAO, and I'm sure there are a lot of listeners today. So Eyal, do you want to maybe briefly introduce to the community what is DeepDAO, what is it about, and what kind of products and services does it provide to for DAOs?
Yeah, definitely. So DeepDAO is the number one DAO aggregator, and what we provide is a large ecosystem overview, so you can understand the DAO movement in concrete numbers from a bird's view. For example, currently we have almost 5,000 DAOs listed on our dashboard, and they manage together $10 billion. And there are 1.7 million people who hold governance tokens, which means they have the ability to vote on one DAO or another. And to put it in perspective, 2 years ago, there were maybe 10 or 15 or 20 big DAOs, like significant DAOs. So in 2 years, in 2 short years, the ecosystem moved from 20 DAOs to over 5,000. And DAOs together managed 2-3 years ago less than $10 million, and now it's 10 billion. And in January or December, when the bull market was still on, DAOs managed $16 billion in total. And so you can see the big picture of the DAO ecosystem, and then you can dive deep into all the organizations and each organization and see very detailed analysis of the treasury and the members and the governance and the relationship between treasury and governance. So just to touch on the people who were here, SupeRare is on DeepDAO. It's number 15 by treasury size. And you can go inside the DAO pages and see the governance and understand the power structure of the members of SupeRare. So when they make decisions about artists, you can understand who are the people who made that decisions and what is their history of decisions. And there are several Solana DAOs on DeepDAO. The topmost of them is UXD Protocol, which is a DeFi DAO. And it's number 4 with $437 million in their treasury. And there are a number of Syndicate DAOs also on DeepDAO, although they're sort of anonymous at this point, and we're going to integrate them more deeply later. And this is really the main points about DeepDAO. You can get the ecosystem overview at large, and then dive very deeply and very granular details about the analytics of each organization.
That's really neat. I'm sure those that are participating in the DAO governance can find DeepDAO a very powerful source of information and data that would help them govern their DAOs more effectively. Eyal, is there any ongoing improvements or additions being made to the products of the DeepDAO right now?
Yeah, definitely. There are several things, in fact. One thing I want to mention is that DeepDAO has personal profile. So you can put in your Ethereum address into the search bar, just like you do on Etherscan, and find your DAO profile and your DAO score. If you're involved in governance in any of the DAOs on DeepDAO, you can get a detailed profile of yourself and your DAO history. And you can go and customize it, add details about yourself, and really invite people to start interacting with you and maybe hire you to work in a DAO, or maybe you yourself is hiring, and so on and so forth. And that's one thing. And the other thing is we're developing our own governance tool, which I'm not going to leak details about, but it's going to be out there in alpha next month. And we're going to work with a select group of DAOs on it. And we're also doing detailed market segmentations, so you can find the right people to target on DeepDAO. For example, if you want to do an airdrop and you want to find the topmost people in the DAO ecosystem, you can come to DeepDAO and find the people that are for your DAO. Let's say, for example, you want to do an airdrop to people who voted recently in DeFi DAOs. You come to DeepDAO and you can find these people and you can airdrop your token to them, because they'll be interested in your DAO and they'll participate in your governance. And so yeah, these are the main things we're building. But basically, the DAO ecosystem is so new that everybody's building and we're building and we're constantly building. This is the one thing that I think would not change in the bear market. You concentrate on your strengths and you continue to build according to your roadmap. This is the plan, and this is the execution of this plan.
Thank you. That's really exciting. I'm really excited to see the social feature, the one with the profile that you mentioned, the social feature, being panned out in your platform, and I really look forward to you turning the DeepDAO into an actual DAO next month. So definitely looking forward to it. I don't want to drag this call too long, so I will end with a question for the three remaining speakers, Ryan, Eyal, and Tom. So, before globalization, right? So human society has learned to prepare enough food and shelter for every winter. And it's been almost a decade since Bitcoin was invented, and it doesn't seem like crypto is immune to cyclical changes. That is the ongoing market condition, right? It's always changing like the seasons, right? So could each one of you, based on your own experience, of course, discuss some of the ways a DAO can prepare itself when the market is good, like in the bull market, for when the worst comes? Maybe we can start with Ryan, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, sure. So you're asking about as a DAO, how to just prepare for live through this winter, this bear market, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So for us, I think a bond kind of assets, kind of products would be the things that we are considering about. So as a creator of bond voucher, we would definitely take this a solution by ourselves. So we are planning to take bond voucher to issue bond to raise over $10 million in the following month. So, and at the same time, we chat with different kind of investors to see their appetite, and it seems they are quite interested in bond kind of assets. So we could offer maybe around 8% kind of APY to get $10 million for maybe half a year, and then I think we could be more confident or more kind of get some more sustainable capital to make sure that our teams could just focus on the development, a very and focus on the development things. So that's the first thing in my mind, to prepare for living through this bear market. So that's and secondly, secondly we are talking to a lot of DAOs to see how they could how we could cooperate it together to to live through this winter. It seems maybe we can do something like some co-marketing kind of events, and then to attract some traffics to just drive the kind of a growth of our business to get more kind of revenue. So recently, for Solv Protocol, we have got around a $10 million kind of trading volume in the just past 3 weeks. So we charged a 1% of the transaction fees. So it seems we got some real sustainable revenue, and that could help us to really get some a reserve in our treasury. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that we are just trying to discuss with more kind of a potential kind of a DEX or SEX to talk about our listing plan, and to see how we could list our tokens, and then we could maybe we get some capital through listing or kind of things. So yeah, that's all from me. Yeah.
I think that the number one thing that you want to do when times are good, in preparation for the times are bad, is strengthen your community. And when times are good, everybody comes in and everybody wants to contribute because they think they're going to make a lot of money out of it, especially in crypto, the get rich quick people. But there's also the core community of contributors and the people who are, like Will was saying, that have a shared goal and are working together towards that goal, which is really the goal of your DAO. I think that when times are good, you definitely want to identify these people and strengthen them and push them forward so that they become your core contributors. And these are the people that would stay when times are not that great, and it's more difficult to get rich immediately or to follow the hype. So again, at the times where everything is great, then there is a lot of hype and people are coming in for the hype. When times are less great, the people who are really your core community would stay with you and continue to contribute and build together towards the next cycle. I think that's the most important.
Thank you, Eyal. Tom, do you have anything to share for this discussion point?
Yeah, I guess if there are no financial regulations and we don't worry about regulators, then I would be selling cover calls all day, right? Just to hedge the upside and the downside. I mean, but from our perspective, it's about diversification. Even though in the bull market run, you still want to sometimes take something off the top, right? So either converting some of the ETH to USDC, so to a stable coin, so that way at least the fluctuation wouldn't be as drastic versus a Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? That's how I would approach it from our side, and also just making sure that you understand what your run rate is, because at the end of the day, there's two ways to look at it. You can manage the actual currency, the physical liquidity assets, and the other one is to make sure that you're managing expenses. So either freezing projects or freezing hiring, or just making sure that the spend that you're anticipated to do in the next 6 months is not going to blow up in case of a downward swing. So by managing those two, I think that would probably be the best approach.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing those amazing perspectives. Just to summarize what you guys said. So Ryan's strategy basically is to optimize the monetizing strategy, right? By utilizing a set of financial instruments like bond to bring consistent liquid assets to the treasury. I guess that's one way to diversify the DAO treasury. Also, it's important to improve the business model, making sure you're bringing in enough revenue. Try to improve your product so people actually use your product. That should always be the number one priority. And also, he suggested expanding collaborations, meaning working with different DAOs, which may involve co-marketing efforts to get the names out there, so people can learn more about your product, your products, and then start using it. And then Eyal's suggestion is to strengthen your community, right? So to identify the people that believe in your project, believe in the goal, your vision. And make them core contributors. So when the times are bad, those are people that will stick with you. And then Tom's suggestion is to diversify your treasury. In the bull market, take something off the top. Make sure you have enough liquid assets to fund your normal operations, and also optimize your financial performance or your run rate. So those are amazing ideas. I'm sure the DAO developers or contributors in our listeners in our audience will really appreciate those perspectives. Thank you so much, everyone. I really enjoyed this conversation. It gave me some really cool ideas on how to build good DAOs in good times and tough times. And I want to say thank you to the guests. Thank you to Eyal, Tom, Will, and Emon, who are not here anymore, and Ryan for joining in, and those listening in. Have a great day, and or have a good night, depending on where you are.
Thanks, everyone. Great to have us around, and good conversation. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for hosting, Johnny, and thanks for Tom, and
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.